Hey guys, tonight we begin with something a little different, something that costs more than most small countries' annual budgets. We're diving into what it's actually like to fall asleep on a $97 million private island. Forget the cramped hotel rooms and questionable bed sheets you're used to. Tonight we're talking about isolation, luxury, and the kind of silence money can actually buy. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You didn't just book a room, you purchased an entire ecosystem. The helicopter circles twice before landing, not for safety, but because even the pilot needs a moment to process what $97 million looks like when it's floating in turquoise water. The rotors slow to a gentle whir, then silence. Complete, profound silence that feels almost aggressive after a lifetime of background noise. You step onto a landing pad that probably cost more than your house and immediately understand that this isn't just accommodation. This is architectural theatre. The island stretches before you like something from a fever dream of paradise. 200 acres of pristine coastline, manicured gardens that somehow look wild, and structures that seem to grow from the landscape itself rather than impose upon it. Palm trees sway with choreographed precision. The sand is so white it hurts your eyes, and the water is that impossible shade of blue that makes you question whether someone enhanced the saturation of reality itself. Your host greets you with the kind of smile that comes from never worrying about mortgage payments. They're dressed in linen that costs more than most people's monthly salary, but somehow manages to look casual, effortless, like wealth itself. Welcome to your sanctuary, they say, and the word sanctuary carries weight here. This isn't hospitality. This is temporary ownership of paradise. You're guided along paths made of stones that were probably selected individually by someone with a degree in geology and an eye for aesthetics. Every step reveals another carefully orchestrated vista, an infinity pool that seems to blend seamlessly with the ocean beyond. Gardens where each flower appears to have been positioned by an artist. Pavilions and terraces that offer different moods for different moments of contemplation. The architecture is stunning in its restraint. Glass and steel and natural materials working together so harmoniously that you can't tell where the buildings end and the landscape begins. Floor-to-ceiling windows frame views that belong in museums. Open-air spaces blur the line between indoor and outdoor living. Everything flows, everything breathes, everything whispers rather than shouts its extravagance. As evening approaches, the island begins its nightly transformation. Solar lights embedded in walkways create gentle rivers of illumination. Hidden speakers carry the sound of distant waves and tropical birds settling in for the night. The air itself seems different here, cleaner somehow, as if even the atmosphere has been curated for your comfort. Staff members appear and disappear like benevolent spirits, anticipating needs before you realize you have them. Fresh towels materialize without being requested. Drinks appear precisely when your glass empties. The temperature is adjusted without you noticing the change. It's like being cared for by invisible butlers who exist in a parallel dimension of service. Your bedroom is a masterpiece of understated luxury. The bed itself is positioned to face the ocean, so the first thing you see when you wake is endless water meeting endless sky. Egyptian cotton sheets with a thread count that probably has its own zip code. Pillows so perfectly arranged they look like sculptures. The mattress seems to have been engineered by sleep scientists and comfort theorists working in perfect harmony. But here's where the magic really begins. As night falls completely, the island reveals its true character. The silence isn't empty, it's full of gentle waves lapping against pristine shores. full of palm fronds rustling in trade winds that have traveled thousands of miles just to whisper you to sleep, full of the distant calls of tropical birds settling into their roosts. You lie in bed, and for the first time in perhaps years, your mind has nothing urgent to process. No traffic sounds, no neighbours arguing through thin walls, no sirens or car alarms, or the hum of air conditioning units struggling against urban heat. Just the rhythm of waves and wind, and your own breathing slowing to match the island's natural pace. The temperature is perfect. Not air-conditioned perfect, but naturally perfect. Ocean breezes flow through carefully positioned windows and sliding doors, creating gentle currents that cool your skin without chilling it. The humidity is just right, tropical enough to feel exotic but not oppressive. You don't need blankets, but you want them anyway. Soft layers of luxury that make you feel cocooned rather than covered. Above you, through a skylight that someone spent months calculating to frame just the right portion of sky, stars appear with stunning clarity. No light pollution here, no urban glow washing out the cosmos. Just the Milky Way sprawling across darkness like scattered diamonds on black velvet. You count satellites drifting between constellations and wonder if the people on them can see your tiny island glowing softly in the vast ocean below. The bathroom attached to your suite is its own meditation space, a soaking tub carved from a single piece of stone, positioned so you can bathe while watching sunset paint the sky in impossible colours. Shower heads that rain down like warm tropical storms. Mirrors that somehow always show you at your most flattering angle. Toiletries that smell like they were created by perfumers who understand that luxury is often about subtlety rather than intensity. You step onto the private terrace connected to your room, and the view stops you completely. Moonlight creates a silver highway across the water, leading from your feet to the horizon. The ocean stretches endlessly in all directions, dark and mysterious, and somehow reassuring in its vastness. You're alone on this island, but you don't feel lonely. You feel chosen, selected by the universe for this moment of perfect solitude. The terrace furniture has been positioned by someone who understands how humans naturally want to rest. Chaise lounges that cradle your body at precisely the right angle for stargazing. Side tables at exactly the right height for evening cocktails or morning coffee. Everything measured, tested, perfected until comfort becomes an art form. You settle into one of the chairs and let the night wash over you. The air carries scents you can't identify, but somehow recognize as paradise. Tropical flowers blooming in gardens you can't see. Salt spray from waves breaking on distant reefs. The green smell of palm fronds and the clean scent of sand that has never known a single piece of litter. Your phone has no signal here, and somehow that feels like a blessing rather than an inconvenience. The constant ping of notifications that usually punctuate your existence has been replaced by natural rhythms. The gentle whoosh of waves arriving and retreating. The soft rustle of vegetation breathing in night breezes. Your own heartbeat slowing as your nervous system finally remembers what peace feels like. The island's staff has prepared everything for your perfect night's rest. Fresh flowers on the nightstand that will release their fragrance slowly as you sleep. Water at exactly the right temperature in a crystal carafe that catches moonlight and throws tiny rainbows across the ceiling. Blackout curtains that can seal out every photon of light if you prefer complete darkness. Or sheer panels that filter starlight into gentle silver illumination. Even the bed linens tell a story of obsessive attention to detail. They've been washed in rainwater, collected during tropical storms and dried in ocean breezes. The thread count is so high, the fabric feels like liquid silk against your skin. The pillows are filled with down from geese that lived better lives than most humans, and the mattress adjusts automatically to your body temperature and preferred firmness. You sink into this bed, and it's like being embraced by a cloud that has been perfectly calibrated for your personal comfort. Your body, used to fighting cheap mattresses and scratchy sheets and the constant background stress of urban existence, finally surrenders completely. Muscles you didn't realize were tense begin to relax. Your breathing deepens naturally, without effort or intention. The island breathes with you. As you inhale, waves seem to roll gently toward shore. As you exhale, palm fronds sway in sympathetic rhythm. You're not just sleeping on this island, you're becoming part of it, temporarily joining an ecosystem that operates on geological timescales rather than human urgency. Through your open windows, you can hear the ocean's lullaby. Not the harsh crash of waves against rocky shores, but the gentle whisper of water meeting sand, retreating, meeting sand again in an endless cycle that has continued for millions of years and will continue long after your brief visit to this floating paradise. This is what $97 million buys. Not just privacy or luxury or prestige, but a complete temporary escape from the sensory assault of modern civilization. Here, your nervous system can finally reset. Your mind can stop its constant scanning for threats and opportunities and simply exist in the present moment. The hours before sleep become a ritual of gradual surrender. You move through the villa like you're learning a new language of comfort. Each room reveals another level of thoughtful design. The kitchen, though you'll never cook here, features appliances that look like sculptures and countertops carved from single slabs of marble that probably took geological ages to form. The living areas flow seamlessly into one another, creating spaces that feel both intimate and expansive, like being inside a seashell that has grown to accommodate human dreams. You discover a library tucked into an alcove, its shelves lined with first editions and rare manuscripts. Someone has curated this collection not for show, but for the kind of deep reading that only happens when time becomes irrelevant. Leather-bound volumes that smell like old wisdom. Contemporary works by authors who probably vacationed on islands just like this one. The reading chair positioned perfectly to catch the last rays of daylight filtering through windows that frame the ocean like living paintings. As darkness settles more completely, the island's lighting system reveals its genius. No harsh bulbs or glaring fixtures. Instead, illumination seems to emerge organically from the landscape itself. Pathways glow softly underfoot. Palm trees are uplighted to create cathedral spaces beneath their fronds. The pool's underwater lights transform it into a glowing jewel set against the dark coastline. You wander back to your bedroom, and the space has somehow transformed while you explored. The bed has been turned down with military precision, but the effect is welcoming rather than formal. Fresh flowers have been arranged on the nightstand, their petals releasing fragrance that mingles with the salt air drifting through open windows. A small selection of chocolates waits on a silver tray, each piece probably handcrafted by someone who considers confection an art form. The bathroom beckons with promises of ritual cleansing. You draw a bath in that carved stone tub, adding salts that dissolve into water warm to exactly your body temperature. The tub fills slowly, deliberately, giving you time to appreciate the view through floor-to-ceiling windows that look out over moonlit water. You sink into water that feels like liquid silk, letting the day's journey dissolve from your muscles and mind. Steam rises around you, carrying scents of eucalyptus and lavender and other botanicals you can't identify, but that seem designed to trigger some ancient relaxation response buried deep in your nervous system. The water laps gently against the stone edges of the tub, creating tiny echoes that harmonize with the distant sound of waves against the shore. You lie back and let your eyes drift closed, feeling your body temperature equalize with the water until you can't tell where you end and the bath begins. Time becomes elastic here. Minutes stretch into luxurious eternities. The constant mental chatter that usually accompanies your thoughts begins to quiet, replaced by a profound sense of presence that feels almost meditative. When you finally emerge from the bath, towels appear as if materialized by invisible hands. Egyptian cotton so thick and soft it feels like being wrapped in clouds. Your skin, now perfectly clean and warm, seems to glow in the bathroom's gentle lighting. Every sensation is heightened, but somehow also deeply calming, as if your nerve endings have been tuned to a more peaceful frequency. You slip into sleepwear that was waiting for you, fabric so fine it barely registers against your skin. The bedroom calls to you now with its promise of perfect rest. The bed looks like an altar to comfort, its linens arranged with the kind of precision usually reserved for religious ceremonies. You approach it slowly, savoring the anticipation of surrender. The mattress receives you like it was designed specifically for your body. Not too firm, not too soft, but perfectly calibrated to support every curve and angle of your frame. The pillows cradle your head with just the right amount of give. The sheets whisper against your skin as you settle deeper into comfort that feels almost supernatural in its perfection. Above you, the skylight frames a portion of night sky so perfect it looks artificial. Stars scattered across darkness with the kind of clarity you forgot was possible. The Milky Way stretches overhead like a cosmic river, and you realize you're seeing the universe as your ancestors did, before light pollution turned the night sky into a dim afterthought. The island's nighttime symphony begins to work its magic on your consciousness. Waves arrive at the shore in perfect rhythm, each one slightly different, but part of an endless pattern that has continued since oceans first formed. Palm fronds rustle in trade winds that have traveled thousands of miles to reach this exact spot. Somewhere in the distance, nightbirds call to each other in languages that predate human civilization. Your breathing begins to synchronize with these natural rhythms. Each inhale brings in air that tastes of salt and tropical flowers, and something indefinable that might just be freedom. Each exhale releases tension you didn't realize you were carrying, stress that has been accumulating in your body and mind for years without your conscious awareness. The temperature is absolutely perfect. Ocean breezes flow through carefully positioned openings, creating gentle air currents that caress your skin without ever becoming uncomfortable. The humidity is tropical, but not oppressive, adding just enough moisture to the air to make breathing feel effortless and natural. You shift positions in the bed, and the mattress adjusts instantly to accommodate your movement. The sheets slide across your skin like liquid silk. Every point of contact between your body and this carefully engineered sleeping environment feels perfectly optimized for comfort. It's as if the entire island has been designed around the single goal of providing you with the most restorative sleep of your life. Through the open windows, moonlight streams in to create patterns of silver and shadow across the bedroom walls. These patterns shift slowly as palm fronds move in the breeze, creating a gentle light show that's hypnotic in its subtle beauty. Your eyes track these moving shadows, and you find your thoughts beginning to drift and fragment in the way that signals approaching sleep. The silence here is profound but never empty. It's filled with the sound of your own heartbeat, gradually slowing as your nervous system downshifts from the constant alertness of daily life. It's filled with the whisper of your own breathing, becoming deeper and more regular as your body prepares for rest. It's filled with the gentle sounds of the island itself, breathing and sighing and settling into night. You close your eyes and let consciousness begin to ebb. Behind your eyelids, you can still sense the gentle play of moonlight and shadow. Your body seems to be sinking deeper into the mattress, not uncomfortably, but like you're being embraced by the earth itself. The boundary between your physical form and the surrounding environment begins to blur. This is what $97 million creates. Not just luxury, but a complete environment designed to trigger the deepest possible rest. Every element has been considered and optimized. The thread count of the sheets, the mineral content of the water used to wash them, the angle of the bed relative to prevailing winds, the species of flowers chosen for their sleep-inducing fragrances. Your mind, usually racing with thoughts and worries and plans, begins to slow and quiet. The mental noise that normally accompanies your thoughts fades into something approaching silence. Concerns about work and relationships, and all the small anxieties that usually follow you into sleep simply evaporate in this environment of profound peace. The island holds you now like a mother cradles a sleeping child. Every sound, every scent, every sensation has been orchestrated to promote the kind of deep, restorative sleep that most people only experience after complete exhaustion. But this isn't the sleep of exhaustion. This is the sleep of perfect relaxation, of nervous systems finally allowed to reset and restore themselves. You're no longer just lying on a bed. You're floating on a cloud of engineered comfort, supported by the accumulated expertise of designers and architects and sleep specialists who have dedicated their lives to understanding exactly what the human body and mind need to achieve perfect rest. The pillow cradles your head at precisely the right angle to keep your spine aligned. The sheets regulate your body temperature automatically. Even the air pressure seems optimized for maximum comfort. As sleep approaches, you realize this experience is changing something fundamental about your relationship with rest. This isn't just a night's sleep. It's a reminder of what peace feels like when it's not constantly interrupted by the demands and distractions of modern life. Your body is remembering what it feels like to be completely safe, completely comfortable, completely free to surrender to natural rhythms. The last thing you notice before consciousness fades completely is the sound of the ocean, eternal and patient, washing the shores of your temporary paradise with waves that have traveled across vast expanses of open water to arrive at this exact moment. The rhythm becomes your heartbeat, the whisper becomes your breathing, the island becomes your dreams, and you become part of something larger and more peaceful than anything money can usually buy. But then something shifts in the deep hours of night, something that no amount of money can purchase or engineer. Your dreams begin to merge with reality in ways that feel almost mystical. The boundary between sleeping and waking dissolves until you're not sure if you're dreaming about floating on warm water or actually experiencing the gentle rocking motion of an island that breathes with tidal rhythms. In this state between consciousness and sleep, you become aware of layers of sound you hadn't noticed before. Beneath the obvious whisper of waves and rustle of palm fronds lies something deeper. The island itself seems to be singing, a low harmonic hum that resonates through the volcanic rock beneath your bed. It's the sound of geological time, of coral reefs growing grain by grain, of trade winds that have been following the same paths for millennia. Your body has never felt quite like this before. Every muscle has released tension you forgot you were carrying. Your shoulders, usually hunched from hours spent hunched over screens, have melted into perfect alignment. Your jaw, clenched tight from years of grinding through stress, hangs loose and relaxed. Even your toes have uncurled from their usual defensive position, spreading naturally against sheets that feel like they were woven from moonbeams. The air itself seems alive with possibilities. Each breath brings in molecules that have traveled impossible distances to reach your lungs. Salt spray from waves breaking on reefs miles away. Oxygen released by ancient trees that have been photosynthesizing on this island since before your grandparents were born. Humidity that carries the essence of rainforests and flower gardens and pristine beaches that have never known footprints. You drift deeper into a kind of sleep that feels more like meditation. Your mind, usually chattering with endless commentary and analysis, settles into profound quiet. Thoughts arise and dissolve like waves, natural and unforced. The constant background anxiety that normally accompanies even your deepest rest has simply vanished, leaving behind a spaciousness you'd forgotten was possible. Time becomes meaningless here. Minutes might be hours, or hours might be minutes. Your usual relationship with duration, that desperate awareness of how much sleep you're getting and whether it will be enough for tomorrow's demands, has been replaced by something eternal. This sleep isn't being stolen from a busy schedule. It's being given freely by an environment designed around the radical idea that rest itself is sacred. The mattress beneath you seems to pulse gently, not mechanically but organically, like you're sleeping on the chest of some benevolent giant whose breathing has synchronized with yours. The pillows adjust continuously to support your head as you shift through natural sleep cycles, cradling your skull with the kind of attention usually reserved for newborn babies. Around 3 a.m, though you have no way of knowing the time and no desire to check, you enter a phase of sleep so deep it feels like traveling to another dimension. Your consciousness seems to expand beyond the boundaries of your physical form, merging with the island's ecosystem in ways that transcend ordinary experience. You dream you are the waves, rolling endlessly towards shore. You dream you are the palm trees, swaying in rhythms older than human civilization. You dream you are the coral reefs surrounding the island, growing slowly toward light through centuries of patient accumulation. When you surface briefly from this oceanic depth of sleep, the bedroom around you feels transformed. Moonlight streaming through the skylight has shifted, creating new patterns of silver across walls that seem to shimmer with their own internal light. The flowers on your nightstand have opened further in the cool night air, releasing waves of fragrance so subtle and complex they seem designed by nature's most sophisticated perfumers. You realize your body has been healing itself in ways you didn't know were possible. Cellular repair that usually happens in fragments over weeks is occurring in concentrated bursts. Your immune system, freed from its constant vigilance against urban toxins and electromagnetic interference, has redirected its energy toward renewal and restoration. Even your skin feels different, softer somehow, as if the island's pure air has been working as a gentle exfoliant while you slept. The silence surrounding you has become a living thing, not empty, but full of potential. It's the kind of quiet that exists in the moments between heartbeats, in the pause between waves, in the space between thoughts. This silence doesn't demand anything from you. It simply offers itself as a gift, a reminder of what exists when all the unnecessary noise falls away. You shift position, and the movement feels fluid, graceful, like your body has remembered how to move without tension or effort. The sheets slide across your skin with perfect friction, neither clinging nor slipping, maintaining that ideal temperature that keeps you comfortable without conscious awareness. Your limbs seem to weigh nothing and everything simultaneously, perfectly supported yet free to float in whatever position feels most natural. Through the open windows, you catch glimpses of bioluminescence in the water, tiny organisms responding to the movement of waves by creating brief flashes of blue-green light. It's like watching stars fall into the ocean, a private light show visible only from your bed on this floating sanctuary. The sight triggers something primal in your consciousness, a recognition that you're witnessing magic that has been occurring in Earth's oceans for hundreds of millions of years. The island's night shift staff moves through their routines with ghostly efficiency, maintaining the infrastructure of paradise while never disturbing your rest. Generators hum quietly in hidden bunkers, powering the systems that keep fresh water flowing and air circulating. Solar batteries charged during the day release stored sunlight to illuminate pathways where night-blooming flowers open their petals to darkness. Security personnel patrol perimeters you never see, ensuring that your sleep remains undisturbed by anything more threatening than a hermit crab scuttling across sand. But you're unaware of all this careful maintenance. Your consciousness has descended to levels where such practical concerns don't exist. You're sleeping the sleep of geological time, of coral growth, of tidal cycles that have continued unchanged since the island first rose from volcanic depths. Your dreams have become oceanic, vast and fluid and patient. Around 4 in the morning, you enter what sleep researchers call the deepest phase of non-REM sleep. But this version feels different from anything you've experienced in ordinary beds. Your brain waves slow to frequencies that match the Earth's own electromagnetic pulse. Your breathing becomes so shallow and regular, it's barely perceptible. Your heart rate drops to levels that would concern doctors in normal circumstances, but feel perfectly natural here, surrounded by an environment that has removed every possible source of stress. In this profound stillness, your body performs miracles of restoration. Growth hormone floods your system at concentrations typically only achieved by children. Your liver processes months' worth of accumulated toxins, neutralizing the chemical residue of urban living. Your nervous system repairs pathways damaged by years of chronic overstimulation. Even your DNA seems to be unwinding and rewinding itself, correcting tiny errors that accumulate during normal waking life. The bed itself has become a healing chamber, its temperature-regulating fibers keeping your core body heat at exactly the level that optimizes cellular repair. The thread count isn't just about luxury anymore. It's about creating a micro-environment that supports the kind of deep restoration your body rarely gets opportunity to perform. Every thread has been chosen for its ability to wick away moisture while maintaining softness, to allow air circulation while providing warmth, to support your skin's natural breathing while feeling like liquid silk. You dream of floating in warm amniotic fluid, supported by invisible currents that rock you with perfect gentleness. In this dream, you're both the baby being nurtured and the ocean doing the nurturing. You're individual and universal simultaneously. Your personal consciousness dissolved into something vast and timeless and infinitely peaceful. The island breathes around you, its living systems maintaining the delicate balance that makes this level of rest possible. Coconut palms filter moonlight into gentle patterns that shift across your closed eyelids. Trade winds carry away the heat of the day and bring in cool moisture from thousands of miles of open ocean. Coral reefs buffer the waves to create the perfect sound frequency for human sleep. Not too loud to be disturbing, not too quiet to feel empty. Somewhere in the deepest trenches of sleep, you encounter dreams that feel more like memories of a life you never lived. You dream of being an ancient Polynesian navigator, reading the stars from the deck of an outrigger canoe, trusting the ocean currents to carry you to islands that exist beyond the horizon. You dream of being a sea turtle, riding those same currents across vast distances, guided by magnetic fields and instincts older than consciousness itself. These dreams don't feel random or chaotic like ordinary sleep visions. They feel purposeful, as if the island itself is sharing its deepest stories with you. Initiation rites for temporary residents who have earned the right to true rest. You dream of the volcanic birth of this place, of centuries when it existed pristine and untouched, of the first humans who found it and recognized it as sacred space. When you surface slightly from these oceanic depths, the bedroom around you seems to glow with subtle energy. The air itself appears to shimmer, though you can't tell if this is a dream remnant or some quality of the atmosphere created by perfect humidity and ionic balance from nearby waves. Your skin tingles with what feels like electricity, but gentle and nourishing rather than jarring. The scent surrounding you has evolved throughout the night, flowers releasing different fragrances as temperature and humidity shift with the hours. What began as sweet tropical blooms has deepened into something more complex, earthier notes emerging as night blooming cereus opens somewhere in the island's hidden gardens. The air tastes clean in a way you'd forgotten was possible, free from the chemical signatures that flavor every breath in civilized places. Your body has become weightless in a way that transcends the physical. Not just your limbs and torso, but your thoughts, your worries, your sense of responsibility for anything beyond this moment of perfect rest. The boundaries of your identity have become fluid, expanding and contracting with your breathing, sometimes feeling vast as the ocean surrounding the island, sometimes condensing to a point of pure awareness floating in infinite space. This is what $97 million creates at its deepest level. Not just comfort or privacy or luxury amenities, but access to states of consciousness that have been progressively eliminated from modern life. The ability to sleep so deeply that your individual awareness dissolves into something larger and more peaceful than personal identity normally allows. The hours between 4 and 6 in the morning become a kind of miracle, your nervous system resetting itself to frequencies it may not have accessed since childhood. Stress hormones that have been chronically elevated for years drop to levels associated with profound meditation. Your blood pressure normalizes to readings that would make cardiologists weep with joy. Even your cellular inflammation markers plummet as your immune system redirects its energy from constant defense toward active healing. You sleep through the transition from night to dawn without jarring awakening, your consciousness rising and falling like gentle swells on a calm sea. Sometimes you're aware of lying in the most comfortable bed ever created. Sometimes you're floating in warm water under stars. Sometimes you simply exist as pure awareness without location or form. The island holds you through all these transformations, its ecosystem providing the stable foundation that allows such deep surrender. Miles of pristine reef filter and oxygenate the surrounding water. Acres of untouched forest process carbon and release the purest oxygen. Underground springs, filtered through volcanic rock over decades, provide the mineral-rich water that humidifies the air you breathe while sleeping. As the darkest hours of night begin their slow retreat toward dawn, your sleep enters a phase that feels almost sacred. Your breathing has synchronized completely with the rhythm of waves reaching shore. Your heartbeat matches some deeper pulse that seems to emanate from the island's volcanic core. You've become part of the ecosystem temporarily. Your human consciousness integrated into something vast and patient and fundamentally peaceful. This integration happens without effort or intention. It's simply what occurs when a human nervous system is allowed to completely relax in an environment designed to support, rather than challenge, every aspect of biological functioning. Your body remembers what it felt like before chronic stress became normal, before constant stimulation became expected, before deep rest became a luxury rather than a birthright. The dreams that come in these pre-dawn hours feel like gifts from the island itself. Visions of what peace looks like when it's not interrupted by alarm clocks or anxiety or the thousand small emergencies that normally fragment human rest. You dream of sleeping in hammocks woven from moonlight, of floating on clouds that taste like salt and tropical flowers, of being rocked to sleep by the same forces that move continents across geological time. When you finally begin the slow ascent toward waking, it happens gradually, naturally, like sunrise itself. No jarring alarms or sudden transitions, just a gentle lightening of consciousness that feels as organic as photosynthesis. Your body emerges from its deepest restoration feeling fundamentally changed, as if every cell has been cleaned and polished and returned to optimal functioning. The bedroom around you seems to welcome your return to awareness with subtle adjustments. Air currents shift to provide perfect temperature. Light begins to filter through carefully positioned windows at angles calculated to ease you into wakefulness rather than shock your retinas. Even the sounds change, waves and wind and tropical birds creating a symphony designed to bridge the gap between sleep and full consciousness. You stretch in bed, and your body responds with a fluidity you haven't felt in years. Joints that usually protest the transition from horizontal to vertical move smoothly, without stiffness or pain. Muscles that typically require coffee and movement to fully awaken feel alert and ready. Your spine seems to have lengthened during the night, vertebrae properly aligned for the first time in memory. This is what it means to wake up completely rested on a $97 million private island. Not just refreshed, but fundamentally restored to a version of yourself that may have been dormant for decades. Your nervous system operating at frequencies associated with deep meditation. Your cellular repair mechanisms functioning at peak efficiency. Your consciousness clear and spacious in ways that feel almost supernatural after years of fragmented sleep. The island has given you more than luxury. It has returned you temporarily to a state of being that predates the anxieties and overstimulation of modern existence. You've slept the sleep of your ancestors, deep and uninterrupted, and connected to natural rhythms that industrial civilization has taught us to ignore. And as morning light begins to paint the eastern sky in shades of coral and gold, you realize this experience has changed something fundamental about your relationship with rest itself. You've discovered what your body and mind are capable of when every environmental factor has been optimized for restoration. The question now is how to carry this knowledge back to the ordinary world, how to recreate even fragments of this peace in places where silence costs less than $97 million. But the morning doesn't assault you with demands or obligations. Instead, it unfolds like a slow dance choreographed by the island itself. The first rays of sunlight don't blast through your windows like urban sunshine filtered through smog and reflected off concrete. This light emerges gradually, naturally, filtered through palm fronds that create patterns of gold and green across your sheets. The transition from night to day feels organic here, like watching time-lapse photography of flowers blooming. You don't wake up groggy or disoriented. Your consciousness surfaces from those oceanic depths of sleep feeling crystalline, alert in a way that has nothing to do with caffeine or artificial stimulation. Your eyes open without effort, and immediately you're greeted by the view that someone spent months calculating. The horizon line perfectly bisects your window frame. Water so blue it looks like liquid sapphire stretches endlessly toward a sky that seems hand-painted by artists who understand color theory at a molecular level. The temperature in your room has adjusted automatically throughout the night. Hidden sensors monitored your body heat, your breathing patterns, the humidity level of your skin. Climate control systems, more sophisticated than space station life support, quietly maintain the perfect microenvironment while you slept. Now, as morning arrives, everything shifts subtly. The air becomes slightly cooler, preparing your body for wakefulness without shocking it into alertness. You sit up in bed, and your spine moves like fluid architecture. No morning stiffness, no need to crack joints or stretch out kinks. The mattress beneath you has been continuously adjusting pressure points throughout the night, ensuring perfect spinal alignment regardless of how you moved in sleep. Your muscles feel loose and ready, like you've just finished an 8-hour massage, rather than simply lying unconscious. Through the open windows, morning sounds drift in to replace the night's symphony. Different birds now, species that greet dawn with calls that sound almost musical. Waves still whisper against the shore, but the rhythm has changed slightly with the shifting tide. Palm fronds rustle in breezes that carry new scents, flowers that bloom only in morning light, releasing fragrances designed by evolution to signal the start of perfect days. Your feet touch the floor, and even this simple contact feels extraordinary. The hardwood beneath your toes is exactly the right temperature, neither cold nor warm, but perfectly neutral. The grain patterns in the wood catch morning light and seem to flow like water frozen in time. Someone chose these particular planks from trees that grew for centuries, selecting each board for its beauty and its ability to feel perfect against bare skin. You walk to the windows and slide them open fully, inviting the morning completely into your space. The air that flows in tastes like it's been purified by thousands of miles of ocean travel. No exhaust fumes, no industrial residue, no chemical signatures from urban life. just oxygen released by coral reefs and seagrass and algae that have been photosynthesizing since before humans discovered fire. The view from your bedroom encompasses the entirety of your temporary kingdom. Beaches so pristine they look like computer-generated imagery. Water so clear you can see tropical fish swimming in schools that move like living kaleidoscopes. Palm trees arranged not randomly, but with the kind of spacing that suggests someone understood the mathematics of beauty, the golden ratios that make natural scenes feel perfectly balanced to human perception. A gentle knock at your door announces the arrival of morning service. Not intrusive, not demanding. Just a soft sound that lets you know the island's staff has anticipated your needs once again. You open the door to find a breakfast tray that looks like it was arranged by food stylists who understand that presentation is half of nourishment. Fresh fruit cut into geometric perfection. Coffee that smells like it was grown in volcanic soil and roasted by masters who treat caffeine like a sacred substance. The coffee cup itself is a work of art. Ceramic thrown by hands that understand how clay should feel against lips. The handle is positioned at precisely the angle your fingers naturally want to grip. The rim is thin enough to feel elegant, but substantial enough to retain heat. Even the saucer has been designed to catch drips without creating noise when you set the cup down. You carry this perfect breakfast to your private terrace, where furniture has been arranged to take advantage of morning light angles, calculated by someone who understands how sunshine affects human psychology. The chair cradles your body with the same attention to detail as the bed, supporting you in positions that feel natural rather than forced. The table height allows you to eat without hunching or reaching, maintaining the perfect posture your spine learned during the night. As you sip coffee that tastes like liquid enlightenment, you realize your relationship with morning has been fundamentally altered. Usually, dawn brings anxiety about the day ahead, mental lists of obligations and deadlines, and small emergencies requiring immediate attention. Here, morning simply exists as a gift, hours of perfect light and perfect temperature and perfect silence that ask nothing from you except presence. The fruit on your plate tastes like it was designed by nature specifically for this moment. Pineapple so sweet and acidic it makes your mouth water in anticipation before you've even swallowed. Mango that releases juice which somehow tastes like concentrated sunshine. Papaya that melts on your tongue with flavors so complex they seem to tell the story of tropical rain and volcanic soil and trade winds that have been nurturing this island for millennia. Even the simple act of eating has been transformed by the environment surrounding you. No traffic noise to distract from flavors. No electromagnetic interference from devices demanding attention. No visual clutter or urban chaos fragmenting your sensory experience. Just pure taste, pure texture, pure nourishment in a setting that allows you to focus completely on the miracle of breakfast. The morning progresses without schedule or urgency. You finish eating when you feel satisfied, not when a clock tells you it's time to rush to the next obligation. You remain on the terrace as long as the mood holds you, watching light change color as the sun climbs higher in a sky so blue it seems artificial. Clouds drift past like slow-motion sculptures, casting shadows that move across the island's landscape in patterns that feel choreographed by atmospheric artists. Your body continues its adjustment to this new rhythm. Heart rate stable and slow, breathing deep and regular, nervous system operating in frequencies associated with profound relaxation rather than chronic alertness. The cellular repair that began during sleep continues in waking hours, your immune system still directing energy toward restoration rather than defense against urban toxins and electromagnetic pollution. You discover that time moves differently here. Minutes stretch into luxurious eternities. Hours pass without the usual sense of rushing toward deadlines or appointments. Your internal clock, usually synchronized to artificial schedules and digital notifications, begins to align with natural rhythms. Hunger arrives when your body actually needs food, not when clocks suggest meal times. Fatigue emerges only when you've genuinely expended energy, not as a constant background state maintained by chronic stress. The island's staff continues their invisible choreography around you. Fresh towels appear without being requested. Water glasses refill themselves while you're not looking. The breakfast dishes disappear so quietly you don't notice their removal until you reach for your coffee cup and find the table cleared, except for items you're still using. This level of service transcends hospitality and enters the realm of telepathic anticipation. You decide to explore beyond your immediate sleeping quarters, and each step reveals new layers of engineered paradise. Pathways curve naturally through landscapes that look wild, but have been carefully curated by botanists who understand which plants create the perfect balance of color, fragrance, and seasonal interest. Gardens that appear to have grown spontaneously, but actually represent years of planning by horticulturists who think in decades rather than seasons. Every vista has been calculated to provide visual rest for eyes accustomed to urban overstimulation. Color palettes that soothe rather than excite. Horizons position to give your focus somewhere peaceful to land. Plant arrangements that provide just enough complexity to remain interesting without becoming chaotic. It's landscape design elevated to the level of psychological therapy. The swimming pool you discover seems to emerge from the landscape like a natural lagoon, though every curve has been engineered for both beauty and hydrodynamic efficiency. The water temperature matches your body heat exactly, eliminating the shock of entry that usually accompanies swimming. Underwater speakers play sounds so subtle, you're not sure whether you're hearing music or simply the enhanced acoustics of water movement. You slip into this pool, and the sensation transcends ordinary swimming. The water feels like liquid silk against skin that's still glowing from your night of perfect sleep. Buoyancy supports your body in ways that eliminate all sense of weight or effort. You float on your back and find yourself staring up at palm fronds that frame the sky like a living cathedral ceiling, their movement creating patterns of light and shadow that feel almost hypnotic. Floating here, you understand that this experience isn't just about luxury or privilege or the ability to purchase perfect environments. It's about what happens to human consciousness when every external stressor has been eliminated, when your nervous system is finally allowed to operate at the frequencies it was designed for, before industrial civilization taught us to accept chronic overstimulation as normal. Your thoughts, usually racing with analysis and planning and worry, begin to move at the same pace as the water supporting you, slow, fluid, interconnected, rather than fragmented. Mental chatter that normally provides constant commentary on every experience fades into something approaching silence. Not empty silence, but full silence, pregnant with possibilities rather than anxiety. The pool's infinity edge creates the illusion that you're floating in the ocean itself, though the water is perfectly controlled for temperature, chemical balance, and clarity. Engineers spent months calculating the precise overflow rate needed to maintain this visual effect while ensuring optimal swimming conditions. The result feels magical, like you're suspended between sea and sky with no boundaries except the horizon. As you float, tropical fish swim in the real ocean just beyond the pool's edge. Their schools moving in synchronized patterns that look like underwater murals, constantly repainting themselves. Rays of sunlight penetrate the water column to create shifting beams of gold and turquoise. The boundary between constructed environment and natural ecosystem blurs until you're not sure where human engineering ends and nature begins. This integration represents the highest achievement of the island's design philosophy, not the domination of nature through architecture, but the seamless blending of human comfort with ecological harmony. Solar panels disguised as artistic installations. Desalination systems, hidden underground. Waste processing that actually improves water quality. Every technological system designed to enhance rather than disrupt the natural processes that make this ecosystem function. You emerge from the pool feeling like you've been baptized in some ancient ritual of purification. Water streams from your skin without the usual chlorine residue or chemical irritation. Your hair feels soft and clean despite the absence of harsh treatments. Even your eyes remain clear and comfortable. No stinging or redness from chemicals designed to kill bacteria but inevitably irritate human tissue. Towels await you that feel like they were woven from clouds and sunshine. Egyptian cotton doesn't adequately describe the texture. These fibers seem to have been selected and processed by artisans who understand fabric at a molecular level, who know exactly how cotton should feel against skin that's been perfectly cleansed by pure water and tropical air. The morning sun has reached the angle where it begins to feel genuinely warm rather than simply bright. Your skin absorbs this heat like it's been starving for real sunshine, the kind that's been filtered through clean atmosphere rather than urban smog. Vitamin D synthesis that usually requires supplements happens naturally here. Your body remembering how to process sunlight the way evolution intended. You find yourself moving more slowly than usual, not from laziness or fatigue, but from a profound sense of presence that makes rushing feel unnecessary and slightly absurd. Each step, each breath, each moment of sensory experience deserves attention rather than being hurried past in the race towards some imagined future goal. The island teaches patience simply by example, its geological rhythms providing a masterclass in the beauty of unhurried time. A hammock strung between two palm trees calls to you with promises of perfect horizontal rest. Not sleep, since your body still glows with energy from the night's restoration, but simple, weightless relaxation under a canopy of green fronds that filter sunlight into patterns of moving lace. You settle into this hammock, and it cradles you with the same attention to ergonomic perfection as every other surface on the island. Lying here, gently swaying in trade winds that have traveled thousands of miles to reach this exact spot, you realize your nervous system has undergone a fundamental recalibration. The constant low-level anxiety that normally accompanies even peaceful moments has simply vanished. Your body has remembered what it feels like to exist without hypervigilance, without the background scanning for threats that characterizes urban survival. Above you, palm fronds create a natural mandala against blue sky, their patterns shifting with each breath of wind. The sound they make isn't quite music, but isn't quite noise either. It's something more fundamental, the whisper of living systems responding to atmospheric pressure and thermal currents, and the rotation of the earth itself. Your breathing synchronizes with these sounds automatically, your respiratory rhythm becoming part of the island's larger symphony. Time dissolves completely now. You might lie in this hammock for minutes or hours. The sun might move across the sky or remain frozen at the perfect angle for infinite warmth. Your usual relationship with duration, that desperate awareness of time passing and opportunities missed, has been replaced by something eternal. Every moment feels complete in itself, rather than pointing towards some future goal or deadline. The island holds you suspended, not just physically in the hammock's embrace, but temporally in a pocket of existence where the usual rules of productivity and efficiency and constant forward motion simply don't apply. This isn't laziness or escapism. It's a return to the natural rhythms that governed human consciousness before artificial lighting and digital interfaces taught us to ignore our circadian biology. Your skin continues to glow with the lingering effects of perfect sleep and pure water and clean air. Every cell seems to be operating at peak efficiency, toxins processed and eliminated, nutrients absorbed and distributed, energy reserves restored to levels you'd forgotten were possible. The chronic inflammation that accompanies urban living has quieted to levels associated with perfect health. Even your thoughts move differently here. Instead of the usual rapid-fire analysis and planning and worry, your mental processes flow like water, smooth and interconnected and surprisingly deep. Ideas arise naturally from the intersection of sensory experience and relaxed awareness, rather than being forced through effortful concentration. This is what creativity feels like when it's not constrained by deadline pressure or performance anxiety. The hammock sways gently with each shift in wind direction, creating a motion so subtle it feels like being rocked by the Earth's rotation itself. You're not just resting on a private island, you're participating in planetary physics, feeling the movement of air masses and tidal forces and magnetic fields that usually remain below the threshold of conscious awareness. The boundary between your individual consciousness and the larger systems supporting life begins to blur in ways that feel expansive rather than threatening. Birds call from hidden perches in the palm canopy above you, species you can't identify, but that seem to be commenting on your presence with approval rather than alarm. Their songs weave together into something approaching music, complex harmonies that rise and fall with the natural acoustics of wind through leaves and waves against distant reefs. No human composer could orchestrate such perfect environmental sound design. This is what $97 million purchases at its most profound level. Not just privacy or comfort or status, but temporary access to states of consciousness that have been systematically eliminated from modern existence. The ability to experience what philosophers call presence, what meditation teachers spend decades helping students achieve, what your ancestors probably took for granted before the acceleration of technological change outpaced human evolutionary adaptation. Your body settles deeper into the hammock's embrace, muscles releasing tensions you didn't realize you were still carrying. The healing process that began during sleep continues in these waking hours of perfect rest. Fascia that's been constricted by years of poor posture and chronic stress begins to lengthen and soften. Joints that have been compressed by the constant downward pressure of gravity find space to decompress and realign. The air surrounding you seems alive with possibilities. Each breath brings in oxygen that's been produced by the most efficient photosynthetic systems on Earth. Coral reefs and seagrass meadows and microscopic phytoplankton working together to process carbon and release the pure atmospheric gases that make consciousness possible. You're breathing the exhalations of an entire ecosystem dedicated to supporting life. As the morning progresses toward what might generously be called afternoon, though time has lost most of its urgency here, you realize this experience has changed something fundamental about your understanding of what rest actually means. Usually, relaxation feels like the absence of stress rather than the presence of peace. Here, you've discovered what positive rest feels like. Restoration that builds energy rather than simply recovering from exhaustion. The hammock continues its gentle motion, responding to air currents that shift with the sun's movement across the sky. Shadows change angle and length, creating new patterns of light and dark across your closed eyelids. Temperature fluctuates slightly as clouds drift past, but always within the narrow range that keeps your body perfectly comfortable without conscious adjustment. You're no longer just lying in a hammock. You've become part of the island's respiratory system, breathing with tides and wind patterns and the photosynthetic cycles of plants that surround you. Your individual identity remains intact, but feels permeable now, connected to larger rhythms that operate on scales from microscopic to planetary. This integration happens without effort or intention. It's simply what occurs when human consciousness is allowed to align with natural frequencies. The sounds surrounding you create a three-dimensional soundscape that shifts continuously but never becomes jarring or unpredictable. Waves arrive at beaches with mathematical regularity, their rhythm determined by the interaction between wind and water and the underwater topography of reefs that have been growing for centuries. Palm fronds rustle in frequencies that seem designed to trigger relaxation responses buried deep in human neurology. Somewhere in the distance, you hear the gentle splash of water that might be dolphins playing in the lagoon, or simply waves reaching a shore where different types of sand create different acoustic signatures. The sound adds depth to your awareness without demanding attention, background texture that enriches the sensory environment without overwhelming it. Your skin has reached perfect equilibrium with the surrounding air temperature and humidity. No sensation of being too warm or too cool. No awareness of sweat or chill, or any of the minor discomforts that usually provide constant commentary on environmental conditions. Your body's thermoregulation system has achieved the kind of balance usually only possible in carefully controlled laboratory conditions. This physical comfort allows your consciousness to expand in directions that aren't available when you're constantly making micro adjustments for temperature, noise, light, or any of the thousand small irritations that fragment attention in normal environments. Your awareness becomes spacious rather than pinpointed, able to encompass the entire island ecosystem rather than focusing defensively on immediate threats or discomforts. The hammock cradles you now like you're floating in amniotic fluid, supported completely but not constrained. Your spine naturally assumes perfect alignment without effort or intention. Your limbs find positions that feel organic rather than forced. Even your breathing becomes deeper and more efficient. Your diaphragm remembering how to move when it's not constricted by chronic tension or poor posture. You realize you've been here for hours without any desire to be elsewhere or do anything different. This isn't the restless relaxation of vacation time spent recovering from burnout. This is what philosophers might call pure being, existence without agenda or timeline or goal, beyond simply experiencing what it feels like to be perfectly present in a perfectly designed environment. The island continues its patient instruction in the art of unhurried time. Shadows move across your face as the sun follows its ancient path across the sky. Temperature shifts subtly as thermal currents adjust to changing light angles. The entire ecosystem breathes around you in cycles that have continued for millennia and will continue long after your brief visit to this floating sanctuary. As afternoon settles over your floating paradise, you discover spaces within the island that reveal themselves only to those who have earned the right through perfect rest. Hidden pavilions tucked behind curtains of flowering vines. Secret gardens where orchids bloom in colors that seem too vivid for reality. Meditation alcoves carved into volcanic rock formations that have been shaped by wind and water into natural temples. You wander through these spaces with the unhurried pace of someone who has nowhere else to be. Your feet, still bare from your morning swim, encounter different textures with each step. Smooth river stones warmed by filtered sunlight. Wooden decking made from trees that grew for centuries before being selected for their grain patterns. Sand so fine it feels like walking on powdered silk. Each pathway leads to discoveries that feel intentional yet organic. A library pavilion where first edition books rest behind glass that filters UV rays while maintaining perfect visibility. Reading chairs positioned to catch afternoon light at angles, calculated by someone who understands how natural illumination affects comprehension and eye strain. The books themselves, chosen not just for their literary merit, but for their ability to transport consciousness to other realms while surrounded by this particular paradise. You select a volume of poetry written by authors who found inspiration in island solitude. The pages feel substantial under your fingers, paper made from fibers that were processed without harsh chemicals. The typography has been chosen for maximum readability, fonts designed by masters who understand that the shape of letters affects the rhythm of reading. Even the bookmark is crafted from materials that complement rather than compete with the sensory experience of literature. But reading here becomes something beyond ordinary consumption of text. The words seem to resonate with the environment surrounding you, creating harmonies between human language and natural sound. Poetry about ocean rhythms, synchronized with the actual waves reaching shore just beyond your peripheral vision. Verses about tropical light illuminated by the real golden rays filtering through palm fronds above your head. Your comprehension deepens in ways you haven't experienced since childhood, when books felt like doorways to other dimensions rather than mere information delivery systems. The absence of digital distractions allows your attention to focus completely on language, on meaning, on the spaces between words where understanding actually lives. You read not to accomplish anything, but simply to let consciousness flow through carefully crafted sentences, like water through natural stone formations. The chair supporting you adjusts subtly to maintain perfect posture as you read, preventing the neck strain and back tension that usually accompanies extended periods with books. Even the angle of the reading surface has been calculated to minimize eye fatigue while maximizing comfort. Someone understood that true luxury means eliminating micro discomforts before they register in conscious awareness. Time moves differently when you're reading in paradise. Sentences unfold at their natural pace, rather than being rushed through in pursuit of plot advancement or information extraction. You savor language the way you savored breakfast fruit, allowing each word to release its full flavor before moving to the next. Poetry becomes meditation, prose becomes prayer, and literature becomes a form of communion with minds that understood beauty at the deepest levels. A gentle breeze carries new scents as afternoon thermal currents shift with the sun's changing angle. Flowers you haven't yet discovered, releasing fragrances that blend with salt air, and the green smell of photosynthesis happening in gardens designed to bloom in carefully orchestrated sequences throughout the day. Your olfactory system, freed from the chemical assault of urban environments, rediscovers sensitivity to natural perfumes that would be overwhelmed by car exhaust and industrial pollutants. The book rests easily in your hands, its weight perfectly balanced to avoid fatigue during extended reading sessions. The spine remains flexible enough to stay open without forcing, yet sturdy enough to support the pages without strain. Even these physical details have been considered by craftspeople who understand that the tactile experience of reading affects the mental absorption of content. You discover that your reading comprehension has sharpened dramatically in this environment. Complex philosophical passages that would normally require multiple readings to grasp become clear on first encounter. Your mind, freed from the constant background processing required to filter urban noise and electromagnetic interference, can direct its full capacity toward understanding rather than survival. This is what cognition feels like when it's not constantly interrupted by digital notifications and environmental stressors. As you read, tropical birds provide a soundtrack that somehow enhances rather than distracts from literary comprehension. Their calls create natural punctuation marks between paragraphs, giving your mind time to process and integrate ideas before moving forward. The rhythm of waves reaching shore provides a baseline that synchronizes with your breathing, creating optimal conditions for the kind of deep focus that educators spend careers trying to recreate in classroom settings. The afternoon light filtering through your reading pavilion shifts gradually from bright gold to deeper amber, each change in color temperature triggering subtle adjustments in your circadian rhythm. Your body's internal clock, usually confused by artificial lighting and irregular schedules, begins to align with solar cycles that have governed life on Earth for billions of years. Alertness and relaxation ebb and flow in natural patterns rather than being forced through chemical stimulation or suppression. You set the book aside periodically, not from boredom or fatigue, but from a desire to let particularly beautiful passages settle into memory before continuing. The view from your reading chair encompasses water so clear you can see fish swimming 30 feet below the surface. Their movements create living art installations that change constantly but never become chaotic. Schools of tropical fish moving in synchronized patterns that look choreographed by underwater ballet masters. The chair's upholstery breathes with you, fabric woven from natural fibers that regulate temperature and humidity to maintain perfect comfort, regardless of changing atmospheric conditions. Even the color has been chosen for its psychological effects. Hues that promote calm alertness, rather than drowsy relaxation or anxious stimulation. Someone spent months researching how different shades affect reading comprehension and visual fatigue. Your reading glasses, if you need them, rest on a side table made from coral that died naturally and was shaped by artisans who understand the aesthetic properties of calcium carbonate structures. The surface feels smooth as silk, but provides just enough texture to prevent slipping. Even this tiny detail reflects the obsessive attention to perfection that characterizes every aspect of your island experience. As afternoon progresses toward evening, you realize your relationship with solitude has been fundamentally transformed. Usually, being alone means being lonely, consciousness turning inward in ways that become claustrophobic or depressing. Here, solitude feels expansive rather than contractive. You're alone with an entire ecosystem, connected to life processes that operate on scales from microscopic to planetary. The book in your hands becomes a bridge between your individual awareness and the vast intelligence that designed coral reefs and guided the evolution of flight in seabirds and created the atmospheric chemistry that makes consciousness possible. Reading becomes a form of conversation with the natural world, human language serving as translation software for experiences too complex for ordinary thought processes. You discover passages that seem to have been written specifically for this moment, this place, this particular intersection of perfect environment and relaxed awareness. Authors dead for centuries, somehow anticipating the exact mental state you'd achieve after sleeping perfectly on a $97 million private island. Their words resonate with frequencies that match your current brainwave patterns, creating literary experiences that transcend ordinary reading. The afternoon heat never becomes oppressive here. Trade winds provide constant circulation that prevents stagnation while maintaining the warm temperatures that keep your muscles relaxed and your circulation optimal. Humidity remains in the narrow range that feels comfortable to human skin without requiring conscious adjustment or artificial climate control. Even the barometric pressure seems calibrated to prevent the headaches and joint aches that often accompany weather changes. Your body continues its healing work while you read, cellular repair processes operating at peak efficiency in an environment free from the toxins and stressors that usually interfere with natural restoration mechanisms. Your immune system, no longer constantly defending against urban pollutants and electromagnetic radiation, redirects its energy toward optimization rather than mere survival. Even your DNA seems to be expressing itself more effectively, genetic potentials that are usually suppressed by chronic stress beginning to manifest. The reading pavilion itself becomes a character in your afternoon story. Its architecture creates microclimates that shift throughout the day, providing different moods for different types of literature. Morning spaces flooded with energizing light, perfect for poetry and inspiration. Afternoon alcoves with filtered illumination, ideal for philosophical contemplation. Evening nooks positioned to catch the last rays of sunset during dramatic passages that benefit from golden hour lighting effects. You move between these spaces instinctively, your body somehow knowing which environmental conditions will enhance different types of reading. The transition from bright morning energy to contemplative afternoon calm happens naturally, without conscious decision or effort. Your nervous system has learned to read the island's atmospheric cues and adjust accordingly. As the sun begins its descent toward the western horizon, painting the sky in colors that seem too beautiful for reality, you realize reading has become something approaching worship. Not religious worship, but the kind of reverence that emerges when consciousness encounters beauty so profound, it transcends ordinary aesthetic appreciation. Each perfectly crafted sentence feels like a gift from minds that understood language as sacred technology. The book closes naturally as daylight fades to the point where reading becomes strain rather than pleasure. You haven't finished the volume, but completion feels unnecessary. The afternoon has been about quality rather than quantity, depth rather than coverage. Your mind feels full in the way that follows a perfect meal, satisfied but not stuffed, nourished rather than merely fed. You rise from the reading chair and your body moves with the fluid grace of someone whose joints have been perfectly aligned for hours. No stiffness from sitting, no tension from maintaining static positions. The chair's ergonomic design has kept you in optimal posture without conscious awareness or effort. Your spine feels longer, your shoulders broader, you're breathing deeper than when you first settled down to read. The walk from reading pavilion back toward your sleeping quarters becomes a meditation in motion. Each step connects you more deeply with the island's ecosystem. Your bare feet register temperature changes in different types of stone and sand. Your skin feels subtle shifts in humidity as you move between microclimates created by different plant communities. Your ears track the three-dimensional soundscape that changes with elevation and proximity to water. Evening begins to announce itself through transformations so gradual they feel like time-lapse photography played at the speed of real life. Bird calls shift from daytime species to those that greet twilight. Flower fragrances change as night-blooming varieties begin to open their petals. Even the quality of light transforms gradually from bright gold to deeper amber to the first hints of coral and rose that will soon paint the western sky. Your afternoon of reading has prepared your consciousness for evening's arrival. Literature has primed your mind for beauty, opening perceptual channels that might otherwise remain closed to the spectacular sunset approaching. Poetry has taught your awareness to notice details that would normally escape attention. Philosophical texts have expanded your capacity for wonder beyond its usual narrow range. As you approach your villa, staff members once again demonstrate their telepathic anticipation of your needs. Fresh flowers have been arranged in your rooms, varieties chosen for their evening fragrances. The bed has been prepared for another night of perfect rest, though your body still glows with energy from the previous night's restoration. Climate control systems have begun their gradual adjustment toward optimal sleeping temperatures. The bathroom beckons with promises of evening purification rituals. A bath has been drawn in the stone tub, water heated to exactly your body temperature, and infused with minerals that will prepare your skin for another night of renewal. The tub is positioned so you can soak while watching the sunset, paint the sky in colors that seem designed specifically for your viewing pleasure. You slip into water that feels like liquid silk, letting the day's experiences dissolve into sensory memory that will become part of your cellular structure. The minerals in the bath water penetrate your skin, delivering nutrients that support the deep restoration processes that will continue through another perfect night of sleep. Your body temperature equalizes with the water until you can't tell where you end and the bath begins. Steam rises around you, carrying fragrances of botanical extracts chosen for their ability to trigger relaxation responses buried deep in your nervous system. Lavender and eucalyptus and other essences that have been used for centuries to prepare consciousness for rest. The scents don't overwhelm, but rather create subtle atmospheric changes that guide your awareness toward evening's natural rhythms. Through the bathroom's floor-to-ceiling windows, you watch the sun begin its final descent toward the horizon. The sky transforms gradually from blue to gold to coral to rose, each color shift happening so slowly it feels eternal, yet so quickly it seems miraculous. Clouds become canvases for light artists who understand color theory at levels that transcend human training. The bathwater maintains perfect temperature through hidden circulation systems that prevent cooling without creating artificial currents. You can soak for as long as desired without the usual time pressure that accompanies ordinary baths. Your skin absorbs minerals and moisture while releasing toxins that have accumulated despite the island's pure environment. Even paradise requires periodic cellular housekeeping. As you soak, your mind processes the day's experiences without effort or intention. Reading insights integrate with sensory memories of perfect weather and pristine surroundings. Your consciousness feels more spacious than usual, able to hold complex thoughts without the fragmenting effects of information overload or sensory chaos. This is what cognition feels like when it's not constantly defending against environmental assault. The sunset begins in earnest now, the sun dropping toward water that reflects and amplifies its light until sky and sea become indistinguishable mirrors of gold and coral. You watch this daily miracle from your stone bathtub, feeling like you're participating in cosmic theater designed specifically for audiences of one. The privacy of your viewing experience makes it feel more sacred rather than less significant. Colors intensify as the sun drops lower, painting clouds in shades that seem too vivid for natural phenomena. Rose becomes crimson, gold becomes amber, coral becomes flame. The entire western sky transforms into a living canvas where light artists work with pigments unavailable to human painters. Your retinas, freed from the constant blue light assault of digital screens, can perceive subtle color variations that would normally be invisible. Steam from your bath mingles with evening air, flowing through open windows, creating atmospheric effects that blur the boundary between indoor and outdoor space. You're simultaneously enclosed in intimate comfort and connected to the vast sky show unfolding beyond glass walls. The architecture achieves perfect integration between shelter and exposure, privacy and openness. Your body has reached optimal relaxation levels in the mineral-rich water. Muscle tension that you didn't realize you were still carrying dissolves completely. Joint spaces that have been compressed by gravity and poor posture find room to decompress and realign. Even your facial muscles release holding patterns you've maintained for years without conscious awareness. The sunset reaches its crescendo as the sun touches the horizon, painting water and sky in colors that seem to glow with their own internal light. The entire western half of your visual field becomes a masterpiece of natural art that changes by the second yet maintains perfect compositional balance. Your eyes track these transformations without effort, pupils dilating automatically to capture maximum light as the day's illumination fades. You realize this evening bath has become a purification ritual that prepares you for another night of perfect sleep. The day's experiences are being processed and integrated while your body releases whatever it doesn't need to carry into darkness. Physical toxins dissolve into bathwater that will be filtered and returned to the earth. Mental tensions evaporate into steam that carries them away on evening breezes. As the sun disappears completely below the horizon, afterglow begins painting the sky in deeper purples and roses that seem to emanate from the water itself. You've witnessed one of nature's most spectacular daily performances from a front row seat that cost $97 million to secure. But the price feels irrelevant now. What matters is the transformation happening in your consciousness as you prepare for another night of restoration in paradise. The bathwater releases you reluctantly as you rise, skin glowing with mineral nutrients and perfect hydration. Towels await that have been warmed to exactly your body temperature, eliminating the shock of transition from water to air. Even drying becomes a sensual experience rather than a mere practical necessity. Fabric caressing skin that feels renewed and sensitized to pleasure rather than pain. Your evening ritual continues as you prepare for another night in the most comfortable bed ever created, surrounded by an environment engineered to trigger the deepest possible sleep. But first, the sky has one more gift to offer. As full darkness approaches, stars begin to appear with stunning clarity, unobscured by light pollution or atmospheric interference. The Milky Way emerges like a cosmic river flowing across darkness that feels infinite and intimate simultaneously. You step onto your private terrace, wearing sleepwear that feels like wearing nothing, but somehow provides perfect warmth and coverage. The night air carries new fragrances as different flowers open their petals to darkness. Temperature drops just enough to feel refreshing without becoming uncomfortable. Humidity remains perfect for skin that's been prepared by mineral baths and pure water. Above you, constellations tell stories that have guided human consciousness since the first nights when your ancestors looked up at darkness and saw patterns that connected Earth to cosmos. Here, free from urban light pollution, you can see stars that most people never know exist. The universe reveals its full majesty to consciousness that has been prepared through perfect rest and purified through afternoon reading and evening ritual. The terrace furniture cradles you as you lie back to stargaze, your body finding perfect alignment without conscious adjustment. The cushions regulate temperature automatically, keeping you comfortable as night air continues its gentle circulation. Your breathing slows naturally as you contemplate distances and timescales that dwarf human concerns, yet somehow make individual existence feel more rather than less significant. This is what $97 million creates in its most transcendent moments. Not just luxury or comfort or status, but access to experiences that reconnect human consciousness with the cosmic context that gives individual life meaning. You're not just lying on expensive furniture looking at distant suns. You're participating in a relationship between awareness and infinity that predates civilization and will continue long after all human achievements have returned to dust. The stars pulse with light that has traveled unimaginable distances to reach your retinas at this exact moment. Photons that began their journey when dinosaurs ruled the Earth finally complete their cosmic voyage by triggering electrical impulses in your optic nerve. You're receiving messages from the past that somehow feel like prophecies about the future. Light-based communications from corners of the universe that may harbor consciousness, asking the same questions you're asking. Your mind, freed from the constant information processing required by urban existence, can finally contemplate scales and mysteries that normally remain hidden beneath survival concerns and social obligations. The island's profound silence allows you to hear your own thoughts clearly for perhaps the first time in years. And those thoughts, influenced by perfect sleep and afternoon reading and evening purification, flow with unusual clarity and depth. You realize stargazing here has become a form of meditation more profound than anything achievable in ordinary environments. The absence of light pollution allows your pupils to dilate fully, capturing faint stellar radiation that would be invisible in cities. Your mind, uncluttered by digital distractions and environmental stressors, can focus completely on the visual experience of infinity spread across darkness. The night sky becomes a natural mandala, patterns of light that trigger relaxation responses buried deep in human neurology. Your ancestors navigated by these same stars, their consciousness shaped by nightly exposure to cosmic perspectives that modern life has systematically eliminated. Here, temporarily, you've recovered access to the kind of awareness that connected individual existence to universal processes. Time dissolves as you lie beneath stars that seem close enough to touch, yet distant enough to represent eternity. Your breathing synchronizes with the gentle circulation of night air across the island. Your heartbeat slows to rhythms that match tidal cycles and planetary rotation. You're no longer just a person looking at stars. You've become a conscious node in a cosmic web that connects all matter and energy across space and time. The profound peace settling over your consciousness feels earned rather than purchased. Perfect sleep and afternoon reading and evening purification have prepared your awareness for this encounter with infinity. Your nervous system operates at frequencies that can process beauty and meaning, rather than just threat assessment and information management. This is what human consciousness can become when it's not constantly defending against environmental assault. As the night deepens and your body naturally begins preparing for another perfect sleep, you carry this cosmic perspective with you toward the bed that awaits like an altar to rest. The stars will continue their ancient dance above the island while you descend into dreams that may be influenced by exposure to such vast perspectives. Your sleep will be deeper because your awareness has been expanded beyond the usual narrow focus of personal concerns. The transition from stargazing to sleeping happens gradually, naturally, like sunset itself. No jarring shifts or artificial transitions, just the gentle movement from waking wonder to sleeping restoration. Your consciousness doesn't shut down, but rather shifts frequencies, moving from active contemplation to passive integration of the day's extraordinary experiences. You slip between sheets that still feel miraculous after 2 nights of experience. The mattress receives you like an old friend who knows exactly how to provide support without constraint. Your head settles into pillows that maintain perfect temperature and firmness throughout the night. The bedroom around you breathes with gentle air currents that will continue their circulation while you sleep. Above you, through the skylight, stars continue their eternal performance for an audience that has already begun to drift toward dreams. The island holds you in its embrace as your consciousness prepares to dive once again into the oceanic depths of perfect sleep. Tomorrow will bring new discoveries, new experiences of what it means to exist in an environment designed around the radical idea that human beings deserve to live in harmony with natural rhythms, rather than in constant opposition to them. But for now, sleep calls with promises of restoration even deeper than the previous night's experience. Your body has learned what perfect rest feels like, and it craves more of the cellular repair and nervous system recalibration that can only happen when every environmental factor has been optimized for healing. The island's night symphony begins again, waves and wind and rustling palm fronds creating the soundtrack for another night of dreams that may be influenced by exposure to cosmic perspectives and afternoon literature and mineral baths that prepared your consciousness for encounters with beauty beyond ordinary human experience. Your breathing deepens automatically as your body settles into the familiar embrace of Egyptian cotton and memory foam engineered to perfection. The sheets seem to remember your preferred sleeping position, adjusting their temperature and texture to match your skin's needs without conscious thought. Each exhale releases another layer of tension you didn't realize you were still holding, remnants of a lifetime spent sleeping on surfaces that fought against, rather than supported, natural rest. The island's nocturnal transformation begins around you like a carefully orchestrated symphony written by nature itself. Hidden speakers you've never seen continue their whispered soundtrack of distant waves and tropical night sounds. But these aren't recordings or artificial enhancements. They're the actual voices of an ecosystem settling into darkness, filtered and amplified through architectural acoustics that took months to calculate and years to perfect. Your pillow cradles your skull with the precision of custom orthopedic equipment, yet feels as soft as clouds gathered at sunset. The thread count isn't just about luxury anymore. It's about creating a micro-environment that allows your skin to breathe while maintaining optimal temperature regulation. Every fiber has been selected for its ability to wick moisture without feeling synthetic, to provide warmth without weight, to caress rather than constrain. Through your open windows, the night air carries scents that seem designed by master perfumers who understand that fragrance affects dreams. Night-blooming jasmine releases its sweetness in waves that correspond to your breathing patterns. Salt spray from waves breaking on distant reefs adds mineral notes that your olfactory system processes as purity itself. Even the green smell of photosynthesis continues in darkness as plants release oxygen they've been storing since sunrise. The darkness here isn't the harsh black of urban nights, punctuated by artificial lights and electronic glows. It's soft darkness, velvet darkness, the kind of gentle obscurity that allows your pineal gland to produce melatonin at optimal levels. Your circadian rhythm, confused by years of blue light exposure and irregular schedules, begins to reset itself to patterns that governed human sleep for millennia, before electricity taught us to ignore solar cycles. Your body temperature starts its natural evening decline, but the island's climate control systems adjust so subtly you never feel cold. Air circulation increases slightly to match your changing metabolic needs. Humidity levels shift to prevent the dry mouth and scratchy throat that often accompany air conditioning. Even the barometric pressure seems stable, eliminating the joint aches and headaches that weather changes usually trigger. The mattress beneath you continues its silent work. Pressure sensors adjusting firmness in real time as you move through the early stages of sleep. Your spine maintains perfect alignment without conscious effort. Blood circulation remains optimal as the surface prevents pressure points that usually cause tossing and turning. This isn't just a bed. It's a healing platform designed to maximize the restorative processes that can only occur during deep sleep. Your mind, usually chattering with analysis and planning even as consciousness fades, settles into unusual quiet. The day's experiences of perfect reading and mineral baths and stargazing have created a mental state conducive to the kind of sleep that rebuilds rather than merely rests. Thoughts arise and dissolve like gentle waves, natural and unforced, carrying no urgency or anxiety toward imaginary future deadlines. The profound silence surrounding you becomes a living presence rather than an absence of sound. It's pregnant with possibilities, full of potential rather than empty of stimulation. Your nervous system, no longer required to filter constant noise pollution, can redirect its energy toward the cellular repair work that happens during sleep's deepest phases. This is what restoration feels like when it's not constantly interrupted by urban assault. As your breathing slows and deepens, the island seems to breathe with you. Palm fronds sway in rhythms that match your respiratory patterns. Waves arrive at shore with timing that synchronizes to your heartbeat. The entire ecosystem appears to be supporting your descent into sleep, as if 200 acres of engineered paradise exist solely to cradle your consciousness through another night of perfect rest. Your skin continues to glow with the after effects of mineral baths and pure air and water so clean it tastes like nothing at all. Cellular regeneration that usually happens in fragments over weeks is occurring in concentrated bursts as your immune system operates at peak efficiency. Toxins accumulated from months of urban living are being processed and eliminated while you sleep, your liver and kidneys working with unusual effectiveness in an environment free from chemical interference. The skylight above frames a portion of night sky so clear it looks artificial. Stars appear and disappear as high-altitude clouds drift across constellations that have guided human consciousness since the first nights when awareness looked upward and wondered about its place in infinite space. The gentle movement of celestial patterns creates a natural slideshow that influences your dreams in directions you can't predict, but somehow trust completely. Your dreams begin to merge seamlessly with the island's nocturnal reality. You dream of floating on warm currents that rock you with the same rhythm as your actual breathing. You dream of starlight filtering through water that feels exactly like the mineral bath you took at sunset. The boundary between sleeping and waking experience dissolves until you're not sure which sensations are imagined and which are the result of lying in the most comfortable bed ever created. Time becomes elastic in these deep waters of perfect sleep. Minutes stretch into hours, hours collapse into moments. Your usual relationship with duration, that desperate awareness of how much rest you're getting and whether it will be sufficient for tomorrow's demands, has been replaced by something eternal. This sleep isn't being measured or rationed. It's being given freely by an environment that exists to support, rather than challenge every aspect of human restoration. Around 3 a.m, though you have no awareness of clocks or schedules, you enter sleep states so profound they feel like traveling to parallel dimensions. Your consciousness expands beyond individual identity, merging temporarily with the island's larger rhythms. You dream you are the coral reefs surrounding this floating sanctuary, growing slowly toward light through centuries of patient accumulation. You dream you are the trade winds that have traveled thousands of miles to whisper you towards deeper rest. Your body performs miracles of healing while you sleep. Growth hormone floods your system at concentrations usually associated with childhood. Your brain processes memories and emotions with unusual efficiency, filing experiences and releasing psychological tensions that have been accumulating for years. Even your DNA seems to be optimizing itself, genetic expressions shifting toward configurations associated with longevity and resilience rather than mere survival. The bed's temperature regulation systems work continuously to maintain optimal conditions for cellular repair. Not too warm to cause restless sleep, not too cool to require energy for heating. The perfect thermal environment for the kind of deep restoration that can only occur when your body doesn't need to waste resources on temperature regulation. Your muscles relax completely, fascia lengthening and softening in ways that usually require professional massage. Hidden throughout your sleeping chamber, air purification systems remove even the faintest traces of pollutants that might interfere with optimal rest. The oxygen you breathe has been filtered through processes that remove allergens, dust, and chemical residues, while maintaining the perfect balance of gases that support cellular metabolism. Every breath nourishes, rather than merely sustains, each inhalation delivering exactly what your body needs for maximum restoration. The profound darkness surrounding you triggers melatonin production at levels you haven't experienced since childhood. Your pineal gland, freed from the constant light pollution that usually suppresses natural hormone cycles, remembers how to regulate sleep chemistry the way evolution intended. Cortisol levels drop to ranges associated with perfect health. Even your blood pressure normalizes to readings that would make cardiologists weep with professional joy. Somewhere in the deepest trenches of sleep, you encounter dreams that feel more like memories of lives you've never lived, but somehow recognize as true. You dream of sleeping in hammocks woven from moonlight, suspended between stars that pulse with rhythms matching your heartbeat. You dream of floating on seas that exist in dimensions where water is made of liquid peace and waves are composed of pure contentment. These aren't ordinary dreams born from daily anxieties or random neural firing. They feel purposeful, as if the island itself is sharing its deepest stories with you through sleep states that can only be achieved in environments designed to support rather than challenge human consciousness. Your individual awareness dissolves temporarily into something vast and patient and fundamentally peaceful, only to reform at deeper levels of integration. The mattress beneath you adjusts continuously throughout the night. Pressure sensors monitoring your body's changing needs as you cycle through different sleep phases. When you shift positions, the surface responds instantly to provide optimal support for your new configuration. Your spine remains perfectly aligned regardless of whether you sleep on your back, side, or stomach. Blood circulation continues unimpeded, eliminating the numbness and tingling that usually accompany extended periods in static positions. Your dreams begin to incorporate elements from your afternoon of reading, literary passages transforming into visual narratives that play across your sleeping consciousness like movies written by poets who understand color and light at molecular levels. Characters from books become companions in dreamscapes that feel more real than waking life, their voices carrying wisdom that seems to emerge from the island's volcanic core rather than human imagination. The night air flowing through your room carries new fragrances, as different species of night-blooming plants release their perfumes in carefully timed sequences. Your olfactory system, hypersensitive after days of breathing the purest air on Earth, processes these scents as information about the island's circadian rhythms. Even unconscious, your body continues learning how to synchronize with natural cycles that have been operating for millions of years. Around 4 a.m, you enter what sleep researchers call the deepest phase of restoration. But this version transcends anything documented in laboratory studies. Your brain waves slow to frequencies that match the Earth's own electromagnetic pulse. Your breathing becomes so gentle, it's barely perceptible. Your heart rate drops to levels that would concern medical professionals in normal circumstances, but feel perfectly natural here, surrounded by an ecosystem that has removed every possible source of physiological stress. The healing occurring in your body during these profound sleep states seems almost magical. Inflammation markers drop to levels associated with perfect health. Your immune system redirects energy from constant vigilance toward active optimization of cellular function. Even your genetic expression shifts toward patterns associated with longevity and resilience, as if your DNA is remembering configurations that existed before chronic stress became humanity's default state. The island's nocturnal symphony continues its gentle performance, while you sleep deeper than you've ever slept before. Waves arrive at beaches with mathematical precision, their rhythm determined by interactions between wind and water, an underwater topography that has been stable for centuries. The sound creates natural white noise that masks any remaining traces of mechanical hum from climate control systems and water filtration equipment. Your dreams evolve throughout the night, becoming more vivid and meaningful as your sleep deepens. You dream of conversations with ancient sea turtles who share wisdom about patience and persistence. You dream of flying with tropical birds whose migration patterns connect distant islands across vast expanses of open ocean. Each dream feels like a gift from the island's collective consciousness, stories that can only be shared through sleep states profound enough to dissolve the boundaries between individual awareness and ecological wisdom. The sheets surrounding you maintain perfect temperature and moisture balance throughout these deep sleep cycles. Fiber technology that represents years of research and development wicks away perspiration while maintaining the soft caress against skin that has been purified by mineral baths and clean air. Even unconscious, your body continues to absorb the luxury of materials chosen not just for their cost, but for their ability to support optimal rest. Your facial muscles, usually tense from years of unconscious clenching and social performance, relax completely in sleep deeper than ordinary unconsciousness. Jaw tension that has accumulated since childhood dissolves. Forehead lines soften as the muscles responsible for worried expressions finally release their chronic contraction. Even your eye muscles rest completely, no longer scanning for threats or opportunities, but simply existing in perfect darkness. The air pressure in your room remains stable throughout the night, eliminating the sinus congestion and joint aches that often accompany weather changes. Humidity levels are maintained in the narrow range that prevents dry mouth and scratchy throat, while avoiding the stuffiness that can disrupt sleep quality. Every atmospheric variable has been optimized for the kind of rest that rebuilds rather than merely recovers from exhaustion. As the deepest hours of night gradually give way to the earliest hints of dawn, your sleep remains undisturbed by the transition. No jarring alarm clocks or sudden light changes to shock your nervous system into wakefulness before natural restoration is complete. The island's lighting systems are programmed to honor your sleep cycles, maintaining perfect darkness until your body has completed its nightly repair work. Your dreams during these pre-dawn hours become prophetic, filled with images of the perfect morning that awaits your natural awakening. You dream of coffee that tastes like liquid enlightenment, served on terraces where furniture cradles your body with the same attention to comfort as the bed supporting you now. You dream of fresh fruit that explodes with flavors concentrated by tropical sun and volcanic soil, and trade winds that have nurtured this ecosystem for millennia. The profound peace surrounding your sleeping form seems to emanate from the island's geological core, volcanic rock that has been stable for thousands of years, providing the kind of solid foundation that allows consciousness to relax completely. Your body has become part of this stability, your breathing synchronized with tidal rhythms, your heartbeat matching some deeper pulse that connects individual life to planetary processes. Around 5 in the morning, as the night's deepest healing work nears completion, your cellular repair mechanisms operate with efficiency that seems almost supernatural. Damaged proteins are broken down and rebuilt. Neural pathways disrupted by stress are restored to optimal functioning. Even your skin regenerates at accelerated rates, the combined effects of mineral baths and pure air and perfect sleep, creating conditions for renewal that most people never experience. The mattress beneath you has become a healing chamber, its temperature-regulating properties maintaining the exact thermal environment that maximizes cellular restoration. Your core body temperature has dropped to levels that optimize growth hormone production while your extremities remain warm enough to ensure healthy circulation. This precise thermal management happens automatically, requiring no conscious awareness or adjustment. Your dreams continue their gentle evolution, now incorporating elements from your afternoon of stargazing. You dream of floating among constellations, where each star pulses with light that feels warm against dream skin. You dream of traveling at light speed across galactic distances that compress into moments while expanding into eternities. These aren't anxious dreams about space travel, but peaceful experiences of consciousness temporarily freed from earthly constraints. The night air continues its circulation through your sleeping chamber, now carrying the earliest hints of flowers that bloom only in the hour before dawn. Your olfactory system processes these subtle fragrances even in sleep, unconscious awareness noting the shift from night-blooming varieties to those that greet the earliest light. Your circadian rhythm responds to these chemical signals, beginning the gradual preparation for natural awakening. Sleep this profound changes something fundamental about your relationship with consciousness itself. Rather than the usual struggle between waking and sleeping states, you experience seamless transitions between different levels of awareness. Sometimes you're completely unconscious. Sometimes you float in states between sleeping and waking, where dreams merge with sensory reality in ways that feel more real than ordinary experience. The healing occurring in your nervous system during these deepest sleep phases extends beyond physical restoration to include psychological and even spiritual renewal. Trauma patterns held in cellular memory begin to dissolve. Chronic anxiety that has been your companion for years simply evaporates in an environment where threat assessment becomes unnecessary. Your consciousness remembers what peace feels like when it's not constantly interrupted by survival concerns. The island breathes with you through these final hours of night, its ecosystem maintaining the delicate balance that makes such profound rest possible. Trade winds carry away the heat generated by your body's repair processes while bringing in cool moisture from thousands of miles of open ocean. Palm fronds filter any remaining traces of starlight into patterns that enhance rather than disturb the deep sleep states you've achieved. Your body has become weightless in ways that transcend physical sensation. Not just your limbs and torso, but your thoughts, your worries, your entire sense of individual identity has dissolved into something vast and peaceful that encompasses the entire island ecosystem. You exist simultaneously as a sleeping person in the world's most comfortable bed and as awareness itself, temporarily freed from the constraints of personal history and individual concerns. This integration represents the ultimate achievement of your $97 million sleeping experience. Not just luxury or comfort or status, but temporary access to states of consciousness that connect individual awareness to universal processes. You sleep not just as a person resting on expensive sheets, but as a conscious node in a cosmic web that links all matter and energy across space and time. The final hours before dawn bring dreams that feel like communications from your future self. Visions of the person you might become if every night could offer this quality of restoration. You dream of waking each morning with energy that feels infinite, creativity that flows like tropical rivers, and peace that remains stable regardless of external circumstances. These dreams plant seeds in consciousness that may continue growing long after you leave this floating paradise. As the night's deepest work nears completion, your body performs final adjustments that will allow natural awakening to occur gradually, organically, like sunrise itself. Hormone levels shift toward configurations associated with alert relaxation rather than drowsy unconsciousness. Your nervous system begins its gentle transition from sleep state restoration toward the waking awareness that will greet another perfect morning in paradise. The sheets surrounding you seem to sense the approaching transition, adjusting their temperature and texture to ease your passage from sleep toward wakefulness. The mattress gradually firms slightly, providing the support needed for eventual movement while maintaining the cradling comfort that has supported your night's restoration. Even these subtle changes happen below the threshold of conscious awareness, allowing sleep to complete its work without disturbance. Your dreams during these final pre-dawn minutes become bridges between the night's restoration and the day's possibilities. You dream of breakfast that nourishes not just your body, but your soul, of morning light that feels like a blessing rather than an obligation, of another day in paradise where time moves at the pace of contentment rather than anxiety. These dreams prepare your consciousness for the perfect awakening that awaits just beyond the horizon. And as the first faint hints of dawn begin to lighten the eastern sky, your sleep remains unbroken, natural awakening still hours away. The island holds you in its embrace, while your body completes its miraculous work of restoration, preparing you for another day of experiences that most people can only imagine. This is what it means to fall asleep on a $97 million private island, where every detail has been designed to support the kind of rest that doesn't just refresh but transforms, creating memories of perfect peace that may influence your relationship with sleep for the rest of your life.